Hi, welcome to Myers ASMR. How are you? I'm so happy to see you. Relax, relax. Hey, are you more of a vibrational match to the problem or to the solution? Are you more of a vibrational match to the problem or to the solution? Well, I made a solution to my craving every so often. I crave some fried fish. So, stopped at my local supermarket and picked up some whiting. It just smells so good. Well, let's dig in. I forgot the hot sauce. It's perfect. Very little salt. flame was up too high. And I knew it. I knew it. I didn't cook up the whole bag, so I have some more pieces that I can get right. Maybe this one is crispier. I like how that looks. Yeah. I can get down on some fish. I think that's why I don't cook it that often. Because I could really overdo it. I'm a little mad at myself. This should have fried longer. It's too soft. But let me stop complaining. I got food, right? That's something to be grateful for. I'll get it right tomorrow. I just remembered I had 2 more pieces on the stove, so I went and got them. These are cooked better. I'm surprised by how unsalty this fish fry mix is usually. It's a little too salty. Fried fish is one of the great wonders of the world. This is my herbal tea with lemon. Let's see what we're going to get into now. This book, I don't know, with every page I turn, it just starts falling apart. And it was a new book. So, I glued part of it, but it's not even holding. Anyways, let's see where I left off with The Great Gatsby. An instinct toward his future glory had led him some months before to the small Lutheran College of St. Olave's in southern Minnesota. He stayed there 2 weeks, dismayed at its ferocious indifference to the drums of his destiny, to destiny itself, and despising the janitor's work with which he was to pay his way through. Then he drifted back to Lake Superior, and he was still searching for something to do on the day that Dan Cody's yacht dropped anchor in the shallows along shore. Cody was 50 years old and a product of the Nevada silver fields of the Yukon, of every rush for metal since 75. The transactions in Montana copper that made him many times a millionaire found him physically robust, but on the verge of soft-mindedness, and suspecting this an infinite number of women tried to separate him from his money. The none too savory ramifications by which Ella Kay, the newspaper woman, played Madame de Maintenon to his weakness and sent him to sea in a yacht were common property of the turgid journalism of 1902. He had been coasting along all too hospitable shores for 5 years when he turned up as James Gats's destiny in Little Girl Bay. To young Gats, resting on his horse and looking up at the rail deck, that yacht represented all the beauty and glamour in the world. I suppose he smiled at Cody. He had probably discovered that people liked him when he smiled. At any rate, Cody asked him a few questions. One of them elicited the brand new name and found that he was quick and extravagantly ambitious. A few days later, he took him to Duluth and bought him a blue coat, 6 pair of white duck trousers, and a yachting cap. And when the Tuolumne left for the West Indies and the Barbary Coast, Gatsby left too. He was employed in a vague personal capacity. While he remained with Cody, he was in turn steward, maid, skipper, secretary, and even jailer for Dan. Cody, sober, knew what lavish doings Dan Cody drunk might soon be about, and he provided for such contingencies by reposing more and more trust in Gatsby. The arrangement lasted 5 years, during which the boat went 3 times around the continent. It might have lasted indefinitely, except for the fact that Ella Kay came on board one night in Boston, and a week later Dan Cody inhospitably died. I remember the portrait of him up in Gatsby's bedroom, a gray, florid man with a hard, empty face. The pioneer debauchee who, during one phase of American life, brought back to the eastern seaboard the savage violence of the frontier brothel and saloon. It was indirectly due to Cody that Gatsby drank so little. Sometimes in the course of gay parties, women used to rub champagne into his hair. For himself, he formed the habit of letting liquor alone. And it was Cody that he inherited money, a legacy of $25,000. He didn't get it. He never understood the legal device that was used against him, but what remained of the millions went intact to Ella Kay. He was left with his singularly appropriate education. The vague contour of Jay Gatsby had filled out to the substantiality of a man. He told me all this very much later, but I put it down here with the idea of exploding those first wild rumors about his antecedents, which weren't even faintly true. Moreover, he told it to me at a time of confusion when I had reached the point of believing everything and nothing about him. So I take advantage of this short halt while Gatsby, so to speak, caught his breath to clear this set of misconceptions away. It was a halt to my association with his affairs. For several weeks I didn't see him or hear his voice on the phone. Mostly I was in New York, trotting around with Jordan and trying to ingratiate myself with her senile aunt. But finally I went over to his house one Sunday afternoon. I hadn't been there for 2 minutes when somebody brought Tom Buchanan in for a drink. I was startled, naturally. But the really surprising thing was that it hadn't happened before. There was a party of 3 on horseback. Tom and a man named Sloan and a pretty woman in a brown riding habit who had been there previously. "I'm delighted to see you," said Gatsby. Standing on his porch, "I'm delighted that you dropped in." As though they cared. "Sit right down. Have a cigarette or cigar." He walked around the room quickly, ringing bells. "I'll have something to drink for you in just a minute." He was profoundly affected by the fact that Tom was there, but he would be uneasy anyhow, until he had given them something, realizing in a vague way that was all they came for. Mr. Sloan wanted nothing. A lemonade? No thanks. A little champagne? Nothing at all. Thanks. I'm sorry. Did you have a nice ride? Very good roads around here. I suppose the automobiles. Yeah. Moved by an irresistible impulse, Gatsby turned to Tom, who had accepted the introduction as a stranger. "I believe we met somewhere before, Mr. Buchanan." "Oh yes," said Tom, gruffly polite but obviously not remembering. "So we did. I remember very well. About 2 weeks ago." "That's right. You were with Nick here." "I know your wife," continued Gatsby, almost aggressively. "That's so." Tom turned to me. "You live next door, Nick." "Next door, that's so." Mr. Sloan didn't enter the conversation but lounged back haughtily in his chair. The woman said nothing either until, unexpectedly, after 2 highballs, she became cordial. "We'll all come over to your next party, Mr. Gatsby," she suggested. "What do you say?" "Certainly, I'd be delighted to have you." "Be very nice," said Mr. Sloan without gratitude. "Well, they ought to be starting home. Please don't hurry." Gatsby urged them. He had control of himself now, and he wanted to see more of Tom. Why don't you stay for supper? I wouldn't be surprised if some other people dropped in from New York." "You come to supper with me," said the lady enthusiastically. "Both of you." This included me. Mr. Sloan got to his feet. "Come along," he said, but to her only. "I mean it," she insisted. "I'd love to have you. Lots of room." Well, I'm gonna stop there. Are you more of a vibrational match to the problem or the solution?